Okay, so welcome to our session today. My name is Anna. I work in the Student Service Office here at the Faculty of Forestry at UBC. I'm an Associate Director of Student Services, but I have been academic advisor for a number of years. And so with me, I have Jana, who is my academic advisor colleague, and Lydia, who is our Student Engagement Officer. So they will be part of the session as well. So let me share my screen and then we'll get going. Okay, so Lydia, Jana, all good? Okay, perfect. Okay, so if you've been to one of these sessions before, you'll know that we try and do different things every time. Sometimes either myself or Jana will present on our programs and on our faculty. Sometimes we have a student panel. Um, Today, because this time of year, at this point in the academic cycle where we're at, we are kind of approaching the end of our application period for September. So we may have, some of you who have already applied to forestry. Maybe you're either waiting for an offer or you already have an offer. Or we may also have prospective students, either from high school or post-secondary. So we're expecting it to be a mix today. So the presentation today I will run, and it'll be a little bit of everything, but the main focus will be kind of what sets our faculty apart and what sets our programs apart. And then there'll be a bit more of a spotlight on some alumni profiles, just to give you an idea of what some of our students are doing post a forestry degree. So that's kind of the plan for today. There's lots of time. Well, I'm expecting to have a lot of time for questions at the end. Throughout the presentation, if anything comes up you want to ask, please do. I do not mind being interrupted, and if it's a question that pertains to what I'm talking about at the time, I will happily stop and answer a question. So feel free to send them to me or to Lydia or Jana directly, and they will read the questions. But at the end, we will have a designated time for that. Okay, so let's see. Hold on. It's not shifting. Okay. All right, there we go. So first thing, what I want to start with is a land acknowledgement, and that is to say that the UBC Vancouver campus, from which I'm presenting today, is located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam people, and we're fortunate to be able to work and learn on these lands. So if you may have heard this before, but if and when you become a UBC student, you will hear it a lot at any public presentation or conference or big event like that. So we'd like to start with that. Before we forget, at the end of this presentation, we will have a raffle for a sweatshirt. So please do stick around. Those who stick around till the end, there will be, we'll do a raffle and we'll draw a name. So if your name is drawn, please do stay online until we send you a direct message, because we'll just get your email address to later get your details. Perfect. Okay, so this is the plan for today. Introductions already done. I'll go over some faculty information, program overview, some enrichment opportunities, things that forestry students will do or take to supplement their degrees. A little bit about admissions. Again, very little on this because we're kind of at the end of the cycle for this year. And then, like I said, I'll focus on a number of alumni profiles, and then we'll have time for Q&A. Okay, so why would someone choose Faculty of Forestry? And what is it that kind of differentiates us from maybe some of the other programs and faculties? So the first thing would be our size, our community here. It is quite a close-knit community. Our faculty is relatively smaller compared to a lot of other faculties on campus. We have about 1,200 undergraduate students. And that allows for a lot of personalized attention, so from both faculty members and from staff. And so it's a very good learning environment, teaching environment. Students know that they always have an option to see someone one-on-one. There's usually not long wait times and things like that. So that kind of community feel is not always found at a large university like ours, but our faculty allows for that kind of hub to form. In terms of spaces, there's a number that are dedicated here in the Forest Sciences Center for forestry students. So your first year courses are quite foundational. So they're things like biology and English and math and things like that. So those courses do take you all over campus. But your hub would always be the Forest Sciences Center. There's lockers here. There's the Forestry Undergraduate Society lounge here. There's study spaces for forestry students, computer labs that are designated for forestry students. And so forestry students have access to these spaces with their, or at least the computer labs, with their student cards. So other students don't. So it's these kinds of services that allow for again, this community to start forming as early as year one. Year two and onwards, most of the courses are taken within this Forest Sciences Center, within our building. So even more so, right? The spaces will get used by forestry students. So again, that's something that's unique on a campus like this. Our degrees, in terms of experiential opportunities, our degrees are very applied and very hands-on. So regardless of the program or the major you end up choosing, chances are you will have at least one field school that will be a part of that program, that you will have courses that have hands-on labs or discussion sections that, you know, take you out of the classroom. You may have site visits, field, you know, day trips, things like that. The degrees obviously deal with, you know, real world issues. And so it's only fitting that, you know, students get to actually experience environmental issues and things that they're studying in class in, you know, in reality. So hence they are very, very applied and very hands-on. So field courses are part of, like I said, most, if not all of our majors and our programs. Study abroad, if a student was to want to go on exchange, either for a semester or for, there's a number of summer programs that are offered as well. Absolutely, they're able to do that. A number of our students do go abroad every year. And regardless of what you might think that forestry courses might be a little bit limiting in terms of transferable credits that you could find elsewhere, it's actually not quite the case. I think our program, as specific and as specialized as it is, it's still broad enough in its teaching that you can find courses elsewhere in other universities that have environmental programs or life science programs or just general science programs as well. So study abroad is definitely a viable option for any of our programs. Research opportunities, these constantly exist as well. So most of our professors here do have students who work with them, probably as far as undergraduate students are concerned, maybe more during the summer because they tend to be a little bit more free, academically speaking, then. So they have more time in the summer to help. But students approach professors all the time to ask about research opportunities if the professor needs any help in their research lab or collecting data and things like that. So if a student wanted to get some research experience, they could start getting that even as a junior student. Haida Gwaii semesters. So we have a really nice relationship with the Haida Gwaii Institute. So Haida Gwaii, if you're unaware, it's located in northern British Columbia. It's a set of islands that where the Haida Gwaii Nation live. And there's an institute there, an educational institute, and our students can go over there to spend a semester at a time taking courses at Haida Gwaii taught by professors from everywhere. Some are from UBC, some are from other parts of Canada, but the location is at Haida Gwaii. So there's a way to spend a semester there. They also offer summer semesters as well. So this is, you know, through an application process and things like that, students are selected. They keep a very small group every semester, about 20 students. So it's a really neat a neat experience. Everyone who's gone has had an amazing time there. So that's one way to also supplement your degree with a neat experience. And then co-op, I'll mention co-op a little bit later as well. Co-op is a cooperative education. So this is where a student would alternate work and study terms. So for us, if you were a high school student who has come in, you would need to complete at least 4 work terms to be able to graduate with a co-op designation. The program is designed with 5 work terms in mind, though. So it's at least about, a year's worth of work experience. Each work term is 4 months in length. So if you're doing 4, 16 months, or 20 months, but it's really good work experience that goes on your resume, of course. And the co-op program is quite structured. So there's a co-op coordinator here that would help guide you through the process. And so a great way to kind of to see what's out there, to try different things out. It's only 4 months at a time, so if you like it, great. If you don't, it's not that long a time. But it still gives you a lot of insight as to some of the options that you would have post-graduation. And it's a great way to build your network. So you get to meet some, employers, peers, other people who are working at these companies or organizations, and you start to build those contacts, so it's a good way to get recognized, to get noticed as a student, and then hopefully it'll make your being able to get a job post graduation a little bit easier, when you have those contacts already there. So that would be for co-op, and co-op is an option, so that's something a student can apply for at the beginning of their second year here. Scholarships, there is money for scholarships and awards for our continuing students every year. Again, being a smaller faculty, strong students stand out, and so it's maybe slightly less competitive than some of the very large faculties to get, scholarships and awards. So another perk of being in a faculty like ours, but definitely we're always looking to reward students who do well academically every year. And then there's, in terms of our faculty, there's a number of supports that are always available. So Forestry Student Services, so that would include our office that's made up of academic advisors, co-op coordinators. We have a student engagement officer. We have a counselor as well who's been dedicated to forestry students. So it's a really close-knit office. We work well together, and so in supporting forestry students. So that support is always here for them. The emergency fund is there. It's a pool of money that we have access to support any students who experience a sudden issue in their finances, and they need some money just to kind of help them get back on their feet. That money is available there as well. Networking events, this somewhat goes with co-op, with the co-op nights that we have, where we invite employers and other industry partners to be part of it and to be part of this networking event. But throughout the year, we have employers, different companies, organizations come through and talk about who they are, what they do, what kind of work they provide. So, and that's throughout the year. So again, we're able to put on these events. Most of them are in person, some will be online. So we try to make them really accessible for students. Tri-mentoring program, this is something that Lydia runs every year. It's a very valuable program where a junior forestry student, so year 1 or year 2, is grouped with a senior student, so year 3 or year 4, and with a mentor. So these tripods are created, and the mentor is usually an alum of our faculty, but it could be somebody who's, working in some aspect of environmental management or something like that. And so the idea is to, again, build these relationships, exchange ideas, meet a few times during the year, and mentors may even have you, come out and job shadow and see what they do, see what their work is really like, things like that. So it's another way just to network, meet people, and expand your web of connections, while you're a student. And then finally, peer-assisted study sessions. Again, Lydia oversees this program as well. So this is tutoring for some of the first year courses that are deemed more challenging for students. So an example could be like a first year biology, math, like a first year soil science, things like that. So every year the courses are kind of re-looked at to see which ones would be most helpful, of course, for forestry students to get some extra assistance with. So again, this is free tutoring and on a drop-by basis throughout the year and at different times during the week. So again, this just gives you an idea of some of the services and supports that are available to forestry students. Okay. In terms of our faculty in general, so when people talk about forestry, it's not always clear what that is, and for a reason. So we like to kind of bring about, a little bit of kind of some things that forestry really is, right? And that broad definition of forestry. So essentially, we offer environmental management programs and degrees. And our faculty members work in all different aspects of natural resource management, sustainability, um, biotechnology, wood products, all those kinds of things. So the items that you see on the screen there are just some of the areas of work and of research that our faculty is involved in. So it really is quite broad, and it attracts students and faculty members from all different aspects of um, natural sciences. So hopefully it provides a little bit of a better view of the kinds of things that our faculty is involved in and that we do. Okay. In terms of our degrees, so I won't spend a lot of time on this, again, because we get into more details on this in some of the other presentations, probably more likely during the fall. So I will just go through them a bit more broadly. So we have 3 degrees on offer. One is a Bachelor of Science, so it's the Bachelor of Science in Natural Resources. Then we have the Bachelor of Urban Forestry, and our newest program that just started this year is the Bachelor of Indigenous Land Stewardship. So the first one, the Bachelor of Science in Natural Resources, there's 6 majors within this program, so it is our largest degree. And the 6 majors you can see over here, so anything from bioeconomy to conservation to forest management, forest sciences, wood products. So first year is foundational. So across the board, students are taking very similar core courses with a selection of some electives pertaining to one of these majors. So you get to start taking a little bit of courses for one of the majors as you're still deciding which one you'd like to pursue. And then in second year, at the beginning of second year, you will declare your major, and at that point, you will be declared as having a major in that particular area, and then you will just continue on completing the degree with that in mind. So that's the Bachelor of Science in Natural Resources, has aspects in a lot of different things. So conservation will be more like the social science side of forestry, a lot of policy with that one, looking at different systems like agriculture systems, aquatic systems, wildlife management, things like that. All of that falls within conservation. On the other hand, forest sciences, for example, is very heavy on the natural sciences like biology and chemistry, looking at like micro aspects of plant and forest life, genetics, things like that fall under forest sciences. And then wood products is more on that engineering business side of things. So looking at wood as a construction material, as an engineering material, and how do we manipulate it, how do we use it, but also the business side of the industry, of the wood products industry, and how do we manage that effectively and sustainably. So that just gives you a little bit of an example of again, the range of different options depending on the major that one was to choose. So that's one of our degrees. The Bachelor of Urban Forestry, this is essentially about the management of green spaces in cities. So how do we design and build our cities, our urban centers to be more green focused, more understanding of the importance of maintaining our green spaces, as with the knowledge that they are important for human health and well-being and community building and things like that, all that kind of builds healthier communities. So that's what this degree is associated with. There's 2 minors, and students will select one of the 2 in their upper years. One is more on the kind of the landscape planning, and the other one is a bit more on the economics side of things, so the urban green space management one. And like I said, so this, the Bachelor of Indigenous Land Stewardship is our newest program. So we just have the first cohort that started in September. The faculty was very, very excited, very proud to be able to offer this kind of program to our students. It deals with similar issues to the other programs in terms of natural resource management and conservation and sustainability, but from an Indigenous perspective. The program is supposed to be also very applied in the sense that students will get to spend some time every year with the First Nations community. So going into the communities directly and spending time with the community members, with the elders, and attaining the knowledge directly from them. So the areas of interest would be things like ecology, law, governance, economics, community building, things like that. So far so good. It's going really well. This is also one of those programs that is hoping to be able to offer a remote option as well. So students are able to stay in their communities if they like and still be able to access the program. So this program is supposed to be made even more accessible. But it is open to both Indigenous and non-Indigenous students. Okay. So that's just as much as I wanted to say about the programs for now. Of course, if you have any more in-depth questions, please feel free to ask, and I will leave contact information at the end. And I'm happy to always talk more about it. So what I will cover next a little bit is just some of the enrichment opportunities. So these are things that can supplement the degree and enhance it, and just help you use your time better while you're studying here. A couple of those I already mentioned, but Land 1 I will talk about, and I think I have a separate, yeah. So Land 1 is an option for students coming in from high school to their first year here in forestry. It's a cohort program where students will take 5 of their first year courses in this Land 1 cohort. So the cohort is made up of about 30 forestry students and then 30 students from the Faculty of Land and Food Systems. So our 2 faculties are working together on this Land 1 program. And so basically, as this cohort of 60 students, you're going through some of the first year degree requirements. These are the exact same degree requirements as any other student has to have, but Land 1 students are just taking those courses in this particular, group of 60. So it's one of those things. If you were looking for that smaller community, maybe that's something you've been used to, from your high school, and that's something that you're more comfortable in, then Land 1, can be a really good option. It's also it's a very social program as well. They organize a lot of events and kind of, hikes and things like that, to kind of keep the students together and, start building those friendships, and those good relationships, from the beginning that will hopefully carry on throughout the degree. So yeah, the coordinators, the professors within the program are all very, very approachable and care about the students a lot. So it's a great way to, to start your university career again in a smaller environment. So that's land one. Co-op, I already mentioned, right? So co-op, I guess, let's see. Yeah, I'll just plug the, the networking aspect of it. It's very good for that. Co-op is also kind of it's supposed to set students up on this upward trajectory in terms of skill set and experience, and marketability. So as a junior co-op student, you might start in obviously very entry level positions. Maybe there's some data entry or um, tree planting, things like that, right? But then you build your experience as you go through, so that by the time you get to that fourth, fifth work term, you have more responsibilities, at work, and you're given more, maybe you're working on a specific project or things like that. You have more accountability. So it's supposed to build your experience that way. So again, at the end, on your resume, it looks really good, that experience that you've built. So again, that would, more and more of our students are choosing it. Again, it's an optional thing, but definitely something to consider. Mentorship, I did talk about the Try Mentoring program earlier. And again, through our networking events and stuff, there's always a lot of opportunities to establish, relationships with potential employers or, mentors that can carry you, further into the career. FUS, events and clubs. FUS is our Forestry Undergraduate Society. They're very involved with the students. They are here to advocate for forestry students at the UBC level. So they organize a number of events and, presentations, things like that. So you're able to get involved, on the executive if you were so inclined, or just, attend some of the events that they put on. But those again take place throughout the year. Clubs, UBC has, I don't know, something like 300 clubs, I think, at this point. Anything from cultural, sports, whatever kind of club you're looking for, I'm pretty sure it exists. And if there isn't, you're able to create a club. I believe you need like 10 people to be on board with you. And that meets the condition for being able to create a new club at UBC. So definitely lots of opportunities to get involved for those who are looking for that. And Go Global is the exchange office at UBC. So the study abroad that I mentioned before, if you were interested in doing exchange or some kind of global seminar, these are like 5-week, 6-week programs during the summer. Go Global runs those. So even as a prospective student, you can search for UBC Go Global and see about all the different programs that they offer. UBC has partnerships with over 250 universities around the world, and most of them would be an option for forestry students. Like I said before, you wouldn't have to look for specifically forestry universities to go to. There's many, many institutions around the world that would offer the kinds of courses that students from forestry would be interested in. Okay, so again, I'll just cover this. This is more just as an FYI at this point, again, just because we are at this point right now, at the end of our admission cycle for September 2025. But in case there's any still applicants hoping to submit an application by the end of this month, right now for most of our programs, so with the exception of Indigenous land stewardship, which is on the next slide, pre-calculus 12, English 12, one of the grade 12 sciences, so biology, chemistry, or physics, and then you would need at least 1 year of chemistry and 1 year of biology, or equivalent, of course, if you're coming from other academic backgrounds. If you were interested in wood products or forest operations as a major within the forest, but within the Bachelor of Science in Natural Resources, Physics 11 is strongly recommended for that. Okay. If you were a transfer student, you would need to have at least 24 transferable credits so that the basis of your admission would be on those post-secondary credits. If you have fewer than 24, then you would have to be competitive as both a high school applicant and a post-secondary applicant. So strongly recommend transfer students to have at least 24 credits. Our applications are still open. We don't have a set deadline yet because we're happy to accept more applications. Probably towards the end of this month though. So if there's anyone here who still may be interested, I would say the end of this month, submit the application. And all this information and a lot more about admissions and UBC Life and all that stuff, the u.ubc.ca site is really good for that. Financials as well, so tuition, different scholarships, things that are available on that website as well. That would be a good place to check it out. And just for the BILS program, it's a little bit different from the other one, so just wanted to flag that. So for this one, it would be English 12, a language 11, and then one of the grade 11 sciences for this one, and then pre-calculus 11 as well. So for next year, for September 2026, this will be changing a little bit. So the English will remain, and the grade 11 science requirement will remain. But the other things are supposed to be taken out. So keep an eye on it. It is already updated on the website there, on the u.ubc.ca site. So if you were to check it out, you can see that for if you were applying for September 2026, that information is already there. One other thing I'll just flag for the Indigenous Land Stewardship application, a positionality statement is always a part of that. So a positionality statement is something that would be sent to you to put together after you've applied to the program. So you'll apply, and in the acknowledgement that UBC sends you back saying thank you for your application, they will then prompt you to submit a positionality statement. And what that is, they'll give you the instructions, but essentially, I believe it's about 500 words worth of you basically saying why you were specifically interested in this program, how you hope to contribute to it, what you hope to get out of it, things like that. So yeah, so just so you know, that would be part of that application. It's not part of the application for any of our other programs. Okay, so now I will just it was hard to curate a few of the alumni profiles because luckily we have a lot, and I wanted to kind of demonstrate to you different things that students are doing, just to kind of, again, give you an idea of the broad nature of options post a forestry degree. So I've picked a few that, hopefully can give, a good idea of different kinds of options that are out there that are available, and to give you some ideas of, where a forestry degree can take you. And I've tried to also pick the students that cover a wider range of our majors and programs. So I'll start with Erica. Erica was in the conservation program, and she currently works at the UN. And she works on issues and projects related to forest restoration, wildlife conservation, behavioral change, things like that with the UN. Before that, she worked with the government of Canada, and she engaged in a number of federal issues, including climate change. So she graduated from us. She got her undergrad from here in conservation, like I said, and then she did go on to get a master's from the London School of Economics and Political Science. I think you'll see this is a trend. We have a number of our students who then go on and do different kinds of master's programs to hone in kind of their experience and their knowledge even more. Okay, Sophia's the next one. Sophia was also in the conservation program, and Sophia's interesting because she took her love of fashion and clothes, and she created a non-for-profit called Threading Change. It's a youth-led organization, and what they do is they're advocates, and they provide consulting services for different fashion companies and textile companies, raising awareness of the negative environmental impacts of the fashion industry. So she gives a lot of talks. She meets with companies, with CEOs and things like that to discuss these kinds of issues and how companies can mitigate some of the negative effects that that their industry has on the environment. So this is really neat. She's done a lot of good things. She holds these webinars, regular webinars throughout the year, and she runs a number of campaigns, again, promoting this cause. So yeah, Sophia's um, trajectory has been really interesting, and we'll continue to follow her. Kieran graduated from our from the bioeconomy major, or the bioeconomy program, and he works as a strategic energy management program specialist right now. But before that, he worked at a company called Chop Value, working on projects that involved underutilized wood resources and advanced manufacturing. So I will plug Chop Value here as well, because this company has also grown tremendously in size. And it was founded by a student here in forestry in the wood science department. And this student has taken this company very, very far. What it is they repurpose used chopsticks, and they make different products for businesses and for homes. They have factories around the world right now. He's opened up multiple factories, and it's like Singapore and Japan and Bali and Mexico and a number in Canada. Um, and so Chop Valley, definitely you can check it out. They work with very large companies. For example, like Vancouver International Airport, they've done a number of projects with them, providing different seating and tables at the terminals. And then they work with like chain restaurants like KFC or A&W, again, providing these kinds of, furniture pieces. But then you as a, and I can buy, some like home decor pieces as well. So they do really cool stuff. So if you check out Chop Value, that's really neat. So that's what one of our wood science students, he was a grad student here, but that's one area that he saw there was a gap, and so it's one way that he's contributing to a more sustainable use of our resources, things already used. How do we repurpose them, right? So yeah. Okay, Chazelle. So Chazelle was from Forest Operations. So Forest Ops is more on the engineering side of things when it comes to forestry management. And so that's the route that she took. So she is a registered professional forester. She took that designation, and she's now an engineer in training. So she's working towards getting her professional engineering designation as well. So her focus is on bridges and roads, so management of those. She's experienced supervising construction projects around BC, and in her current role, she's working on a wide variety of projects involving remote access, land use planning, First Nations consultations, bridge analyses, as well as logistics and transportation systems. So definitely on that engineering side of things. So it's great to see. And so we have, through Forest Operations, that's one of the programs that provides all the academic requirements needed for a professional forester. So if a student wanted to become a registered professional forester, Forest Ops is one of the two majors, the other one being Forest Management, that provides all the academic requirements needed for that. So then post-graduation, you can apply with the forest professionals of BC and go that route for becoming a professional forester. It takes about 2 to 3 years. You could also, with Forest Operations, take an extra set of courses, advanced math courses and engineering courses, to, again, cover all the academic requirements needed to then apply to become a professional engineer as well. And so this is the route that Chazelle took, and this is a route that I would say probably like a handful of students are interested in every single year in Forest Ops. So another option for students in that major. Okay, so Tim, Tim, also from the conservation program, his focus is more on hydrology and fish management. So he works with First Nations communities across BC on, as it says, on natural resource management, focusing on water, fish, riparian forest management. So that's kind of where his interests took him. Um, he's currently working on salmon management, so salmon rebuilding planning, watershed drought resistance planning, and he's facilitating salmon harvest roundtables across Vancouver Island. So one of our so one of our associate deans is a salmon researcher and a salmon specialist. So um, that side of aquatics management is something that's part of our faculty as well. Okay, so Nick next. Nick would be probably in what you would consider a more traditional route in forestry, but this should be highlighted as well. So Nick is a registered professional forester as well, and he has worked at Chartwell Resource Group. They're a quite large like environmental consulting management company. And so Nick specifically has been working in Haida Gwaii and working on kind of ecosystems-based management and application operational forestry. He's specifically focusing on technology, so using satellite imagery, remote sensing, and figuring out ways how that technology can help the different clients with their natural resource management issues or problems or things they're trying to solve. So he works as a consultant, as an environmental consultant for companies looking for this kind of advice, right? So that high tech piece is also a good part of what this faculty is involved in as well. So there's a lot of facilities here, different machinery, softwares, and things like that that you would have access to depending on the kinds of classes you take. But this kind of GIS, so geographic information systems, remote sensing, using like LiDAR systems, this kind of stuff is also part of what you'd be learning and what you'd be exposed to here. Okay, so Gerlissa finished urban forestry. So she's working in as an urban planner right now. Her minor was the landscape recreation planning, so that's the route that she took. So she was exploring things like forest fire ecology, forest fire occurrences, and the regeneration process following these kinds of fires. As you may or may not know, we live in the part of the world where wildfire is a common occurrence every single year, and so there's a lot of research and work that's done, a lot through our faculty as well on the management of that. She also, Grilissa also traveled to Singapore. She had an internship there. She worked at the Jurong Lake Gardens, where she was exploring a balanced approach to wildlife habitat preservation and recreational spaces. And she contributed to design of Singapore's first ever dragonfly habitat, which I'm sure is super cool. So, so another route that an urban forestry student, for example, could take. And I think this is the final one that I have. I'll highlight Nancy as well. Nancy also works in consulting, and she has an extensive experience in this field. So she was also a graduate of conservation, but she also went on to get her MBA and a Master of Science. So she's been in the consulting industry for more than 20 years and internationally as well. And she sits on a number of committees, board of directors, things like that. So for example, she's on the BC Environmental Appeals Board, Forest Appeals Commission, and Energy Resource Appeal Tribunal. And she was also the CEO and executive director at the Jane Goodall Institute in Australia, where she lived for a period of time. She also served on boards including Green Space Australia, and worked, like I said, as a consultant at two of the what are considered the big four professional services. So she worked at Deloitte and at Ernst and Young as well. So Nancy is very much accomplished, and she is one of the mentors that we have, that's part of that tri-mentoring program that I mentioned before. In fact, most of these alumni who I just highlighted are mentors in the program. So these are the kinds of people that, you know, forestry students have access to, should they want to learn from and kind of pick their brains about what they've experienced. Okay. So that's all that I had on the table to discuss with you for today. We have a little bit of time left. I have not been able to keep an eye on the chat or anything. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them now. You're welcome to raise your virtual hand and ask out loud, or put your questions in the chat to any one of us, Lydia, myself, or Jana, or to everyone, and we're happy to answer those. And on the screen right now, obviously our faculty website is there and our contact info. So this forestry.undergrad email address goes to all of us. So whoever is able to get to it quickest will answer, and then we can follow up on anything that might come up. So so I will open up the floor. If there are any questions, please go ahead. Okay. Yeah, Lydia put in the link for chop value. Thank you. Don't be shy. But if you're also just waiting for the sweatshirt raffle, that's okay too. That's fine. It's fine. I'm not taking it personally. Maybe we'll just give it a couple more minutes. Like if anything comes up, anything you want to know about the degrees, courses, student life, uh, yeah, anything that's come up, more than happy to chat. You can also always reach out to us and we can set up a one-on-one meeting in person if you're around, or if you'd like to come by, or Zoom, of course. A lot of our meetings now are over Zoom with prospective students, so feel free. Okay, so awesome. So Jana forwarded me one that she got. Let's see. What basic sciences are required for first year? So yeah, so in general, it'll vary a little bit between among the degrees, but generally you're looking at first year chemistry, biology, calculus. Um, that's it in terms of sciences. Now some majors obviously have more sciences than others, but at the very least it's these three. And then things like soil science, economics, English. These are the typical first year courses that you would take as core requirements. Okay. Sandy, does everyone get a locker in first year? So there are a lot of lockers available to forestry students. They're not guaranteed, but what you would do is you can reserve a locker. So this usually happens during the first week of term. At this point, it's like $5 a term to rent a locker, or you can pay $10 for the whole year. And yeah, and so it's there for you. And usually there's enough for everyone who wants one. I don't think we've ever had any issues where a student was not able to get a locker if they wanted one. So definitely. Okay, so I got a direct message. What does the path look like to take an education degree after a forestry degree? So it's a good question. We have two of our majors. With two of our majors, you're able to do a dual degree with the Faculty of Education. So to get a Bachelor of Education together with your forestry degree. And that's with Forest Sciences. And that's if you're in the honors stream of Forest Sciences. And then also with a conservation major. And that's if you're in the Science and Management specialization of the conservation major. So there are two pathways where you can access this dual degree with education option. Otherwise, for all of our other degrees and programs, of course, if you wanted to pursue education afterwards, it would be, like a second degree, right? So absolutely as possible. And it could be sped up a little bit with one of these two pathways, right, that allow for the dual degree. We would go all over campus in first year. Um, you would go over a lot of it. The campus is it's a large campus. In the end, you get used to it. But every faculty department kind of has its own buildings, so you have to walk building to building. Forestry building is right on the south end of the campus. We're kind of the southmost academic building. And then, but if you're walking around to, something like an arts course that's all the way in the north end of campus, it might take, I don't know, 12-ish minutes to get there, something like that. My 12 minutes is a little bit fast, but maybe around 12 to 15, right? Well, 12, we'll say 12. So yeah, you'll kind of be a little bit all over, but it also depends on how you schedule your classes, you might not be walking all the way across campus all the time. So yeah. Okay, great. Okay, good. Thank you. Does urban forestry require physics? No, no. It would count as you have some restricted elective requirement in first year. It would count as a restricted elective, but you can take another elective. So no, it doesn't require physics. Awesome. Thank you, Lydia, about the lockers. Okay. Um, Maz, thank you. How's the typical day look as a medical student at UBC and what the average percent? So, I do not know about the Faculty of Medicine, so I'm only able to speak of Faculty of Forestry. That's our expertise here. So, if you were interested in getting into medical school at UBC, they have advising offices as well, right? So I would say reach out to them directly or look up the information online. So sorry about that. Will there be many classes outdoors? So they will be the field schools that are part of the requirements. Those field schools, like they're week long and they would require you to be on location somewhere. So it's normally it's one of our research forests. We have two research forests that our faculty is associated with. One is about an hour and a half drive from Vancouver. It's called Maple Ridge. It's called the Malcolm Knapp Research Forest. It's in Maple Ridge. And then the other one is further north. It's about a 5-hour drive north in Williams Lake. It's called Alex Fraser Research Forest. And they're, full facilities, right? Full lodging and food and everything, of course. So you'd spend the week at that, at those locations. In terms of day-to-day classes, I don't think there's any where you would have, a whole day outside, but there will be parts of it, for certain labs or discussion sections or something, the professors will take you out or for like a day trip maybe to some location. So they try to definitely make them as experiential as possible, right? So yeah. Okay. So I think that's all I got. If there's any kind of last minute question, maybe one more question. Otherwise, we can do, awesome. Okay, I got one direct one, so maybe we'll do this one as the last one. What type of stuff would we do in the outdoor classes? I mean, that becomes a little bit too specific. I'll be honest, because I have not participated myself specifically, so I can't tell you exactly what you'd be doing. But essentially, what it is, it's applying whatever terminology, whatever aspects surrounding whether it's urban forestry or wildlife management or aquatic systems management or something. Whatever it is you're learning in class, in theory, you'd be wanting to apply that in real life, right? So seeing, okay, we learned about, um, this aspect of, landscape management. Okay, so we're going to go now and check it out in real life and see how that actually works, things like that, right? So it's really putting in practice what you're learning in class. Yeah. And connecting the theory with the practical. Yeah. Oh, okay, great. Yeah. Thanks, Lydia. So if you guys have saw Lydia's message, yeah, check out our Instagram. Definitely. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. All right, so thank you everyone. Let's do the raffle because we have a couple minutes left. So Lydia, are you ready? Okay. Do you want to read out do you want to announce the name?
Well, I've got everyone's name. You can't see it, a little blur in a piece of paper in a bowl here. Extremely cheat proof, authentic.
Yeah, we don't
So
know anybody here, so there's no
we've
favorites.
never met any of you.
No.
Okay. So let's see. Okay. We have the winner is L. I don't know if you can see this. L. So you are
Oh,
the winner of the hoodie. So we'll ask you to hang back for a minute or two so we can get your information.
yeah, hang back. We'll send you a direct message just so that you can share with us your email address, and then we'll be in touch about it. So yeah, amazing. Congrats. Um, yeah, thank you everyone. I guess we'll end it here. Thank you very much for being part of the session and for your questions. We are continuously available for any further conversations and answering your questions about faculty, about UBC. So feel free to reach out anytime you like, and we look forward to connecting with you. So thank you again for being here, guys. Bye.